Welcome back to Manufacturing Tomorrow's Workforce. I'm Amanda Del Buono. Today, we have a roundtable interview with a group of gentlemen from the ISA Will-DuPage chapter and Joliet Junior College in Joliet, Illinois, who are working together to train students for careers in process automation. The Process Control and Instrumentation Technology, or PCIT, program at JJC started less than a decade ago with a goal of preparing students for jobs like control systems development technicians, controls and instrumentation technicians, and the like. Not only does the program get students ready for a career, it also provides networking to the extent that many students leave the program with job offers in hand. I recently took a ride over to JJC to get more insight on the program and see where it's going as the need for an educated workforce is growing. In this interview, David Riojas, president of PCIT Advisory Board and the past president of the ISA Will-DuPage chapter, Jeff Bradford, JJC Technical Department chair, and Joe Limon, PCIT instructor who was named Staff Member of the Year last year at JJC, share how the program developed, what it does, and where it's going. Here's the interview. So today I'm being joined by David Riojas, Jeff Bradford, and Joe Limon, who are all key players in the Joliet Junior College PCIT program with the ISA. Thank you for joining me today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So just to get started, how did ISA Will-DuPage and JJC come together to start this program?
I think it would probably be Ed Myers. So Ed Myers was a longstanding ISA board of director member, and he started teaching classes out here,
Probably
how long ago?
At least 30, 35 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
And I think he was really the one that kind of founded the instrumentation program itself, if I'm correct.
I think you're right. He because Ed worked at Citgo for 45 years. Retired back in, I think, 2013, 2014. And he taught first part-time, and I've been here 20-something years. He predated me by at least a decade or two. And we had one instrumentation class, and he taught that class, and he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And through his leadership, we actually, in combination with ISA and their program's advisory board, started a certificate and a degree program out here.
Mm-hmm. So when students leave here, they go with a full degree back, not an associate's degree then? And
there's an associate's degree and there's also a 5-course certificate.
Yes.
Okay. So they're set to get a career in the industry when they leave here?
Yes, you would agree.
That's what we're leveraging them for, is to be able to enter into manufacturing in that area,
mm-hmm.
using this education, this program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know, was there an advisory board prior to Ed bringing us on about 6 years ago?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. I've been here for a while, but I just took over the department about 3 years ago. I'm a mechanical maintenance guy by trade. So I don't know the full backstory.
So about 6 years ago, he asked a bunch of us in industry, and he asked a number of us on the ISA Board of Directors to join the advisory board for the PCIT program with the idea that we were going to help him review the curriculum and make sure that it's meeting the needs of industry.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really lucky that he did that, because about a year after we formed the advisory board, he fell over and died one day, unfortunately.
Oh.
He passed very unexpectedly. And had he not put that advisory board together, I don't know that this program would still exist.
I think that's an accurate statement.
Yeah. So there's a lot to be said for Ed Myers
Mm-hmm.
and what he did to put this program together. And as a matter of fact, there's a plaque over there with his name, and there's a scholarship fund in his name here at the college.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a good thing he had that foresight to
Yeah, exactly.
make sure his
He had a huge influence on this program, and he still does today.
Mm-hmm. Well, when he kind of did this, was this really driven by him, or was there also a need from local organizations in the ISA that were looking for students, or were there just...
I think from an industry standpoint, there was a need. That's how I ended up out here. So I'm post-Ed Meyer, so I didn't know him personally, heard a lot about him. But at the time, I was looking for instrument techs for my company where I work at, and they were hard to find. And kind of fell into this program here that they had this here. Well, kind of coincidentally, at the same time, they were looking for help. Hence, that's how I ended up there to help them out. And that was 2014.
Right.
So come on, give us a hand. So.
Have you found this coming from industry, and you have a company outside of here? Have you found that you've been able to kind of recruit students out of here? Or?
Oh, yes. So, again, I came out here to help, but no angel, and we hired 6 of them. So, but they've moved on since. So the goal, believe it or not, is their interest, their best interest, what's good for them. And I think the program, that's what we're here for, is to give them the tools to succeed out in industry, to the point where some of them have bettered themselves since coming out to our company and moving on to maybe something else that they have more of a passion for.
Now, Ed, I think, again, was also, he had an ulterior motive that he was looking for techs for Citgo.
Right.
So he was cherry picking the best ones out of the program.
It's hard not to.
But he was teaching classes
Right.
out at Citgo for technicians for years and years and years before he was teaching here. So, again, a lot of it goes back to Ed and kind of what he started.
Exactly. So it's really hard to be unbiased, but I do try to keep the bias out of it. Although a lot of the students do come our way, but they also go all over. We're kind of sprinkled all over the area when we start looking.
And your company's a part of the ISA? No?
Our company, not per se, but we have members in our E&I department that are members of it. I'm also a member of it, so yes, our company's involved.
So you're at least associated with it. How had you said the ISA became a kind of a board of directors? How has that relationship continued? And what is important to the ISA for this program as far as making decisions on what is covered or?
Well, the ISA has several objectives as an organization, as a nonprofit. One is to set standards, which we really don't cover too much at the local level. The other is to educate. And whether that education means to educate people through technical meetings that we have, or to, I guess, try to impress upon the next generation of technicians that this is a good career path. So we want them to be educated. Hey, there's a great program here that we've partnered with, that we sit on that advisory board, and certainly try to push people into this program because we know that there's a need in industry. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do with all the people that are leaving industry right now, that are retiring out. They're taking a lot of knowledge with them. And there is a gap. There's absolutely a gap in knowledge. So somebody who's young, who likes to play with computers and electronics, this is a great career path. They can come in and do this. They can get hired making $25 to $35 an hour, and within a couple of years be making $100,000 a year with a 2-year degree. I think that's pretty fantastic.
So how is the program structured? What do students come in here and what do they learn? And what do they do while they're in the course?
Yes, Joe, what do they do?
The first thing is we get a great difference in backgrounds when they walk through the door, but when they come through the door, the assumption is they don't know anything about instrumentation and controls. And the goal is to give them the tools as far as understanding. So we don't teach a manufacturer, we teach the technology behind it. So from specific gravity, how it works, with level instruments to guided wave radar. And what we're trying to do is give them those tools. The focus is that when they walk out of here, they're not, I'll get a call from one of the companies. That's one thing about this is networking, is I need someone that can hit the floor running, 20 years plus. So does everybody else. What we're giving you is we're going to give you somebody that has the tools, and when he sees it out in the field, it's not going to overwhelm him. He's going to understand it. He may not know exactly how to set that up, but he'll understand the principle behind it, and it won't take long at all for him to be fruitful wherever he's at. So that's our goal, is just give them those basics that when they walk through, and give them a good understanding of overall industry and instrumentation. And it's an ever-changing area too. So the other part of it is we have to stay on top of the different technologies and what are companies using today and what is kind of going away.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of keep that balance.
What kind of strategies do you use to teach them those basic skills or give them that basic knowledge?
So we start from the beginning. So we'll use pneumatics as the beginning. We know it's an older technology. I don't want to say it's a dying technology because I know there's companies out there that still use it, but we use that for our stepping stones. And that's where we start introducing what a pressure transmitter does and how it works, with the specific gravity, how that works. What calibration is, why is calibration important? Why is it important that it's accurate?
Mm-hmm.
You go to a doctor and he uses one of those instruments to check you. You sure want that accurate, right? Mm-hmm. So we teach them these principles on how are they accurate. How do we teach them how it works? So we have hands-on. As you look around, we have a lot of equipment in here, and we work lecture and then we have hands-on, lecture, hands-on, and trying to give them a real-world sense with the limited piece of equipment we have. And we've involved like the G booths, their PTU, where they can go out and see this is what it looks like in the world. This is a real world process here. Mm-hmm. So it starts here, one piece at a time, then two pieces at a time. Then pretty soon we have 3 or 4 instruments talking to each other, so we have a regular process going. And then we just build from there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably want to add in here too that there is a 5-class certificate and then there's a 2-year degree. Correct me, Joe, if I'm wrong, but basically that certificate, those 5 classes in the certificate are part of the degree. But because you get such a wide range of students taking classes, you may have some folks out at some of the petrochem plants or power plants that may not be working as instrument techs necessarily, but there may be industrial electricians, maybe mechanics. So they've got some understanding. They can come in, take those 5 classes, and really just take off. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we get someone in here that's, say, right out of high school or maybe a little bit older, but this is completely new to them, then that 2-year degree is more where they need to be to get themselves up to where that seasoned person is.
Right, right.
And that was something that the advisors were put together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked a little bit about what they do in the program. How do you get them into the program? How do you attract students to say...
Well, that is word of mouth right now. Right now, it's, again, we talked earlier, it's a network. So we have people like David promotes the program. As we place these students out in the workforce, them just being there is word of mouth for us. We stay pretty consistent with enrollment just based on feedback what they're hearing out in manufacturing. So an example, one of the students, his dad works at one of the petrochem companies around here, and he talked to one of the E&I techs in there, and they told him about this program. This is a good program. Your kid can get a career, not a job, but a career. So one of the things we focus in when they come in, the benefits is they're not learning a job, they're learning a career. This is something that they can take anywhere in the world, and they can use it. So right now it's just networking.
And it's not completely networking because I want to add in National Manufacturing Day, which you guys participate in. And I'll use one example because I have a really close relationship with ExxonMobil and the folks that work out there. So at their booth in particular, and some other companies too, they'll take the brochures for our instrumentation program, our mechanical maintenance program, our electrical program, and they'll have them on their tables when those high school students are coming by, having those conversations one-on-one. Well, if I wanted to come work at your company, how do I get in? Well, you need to go talk to Joe. You need to talk to Jeff. You need to talk to whomever, right? This is the pathway educationally to get into our companies. Mm-hmm. So we're doing some of that too. Mm-hmm. And we do go out to high school events, career fairs and stuff when we can.
Mm-hmm. And from an ISA perspective, we're doing the same thing.
Right.
We're participating in robotics competitions and high school career fairs, college fairs, STEM events, things like that. Just wherever we're invited around the community.
I think the challenge, and again, having been here and hired to run our mechanical maintenance program, I think there's so many people that live in this area that have no idea any of these type of jobs exist. Not just instrumentation, but the industrial electrician, the maintenance mechanic. They don't understand this stuff. And I just met with a young man yesterday and his mom, and he's like, I don't know what I want to do, but I heard I should get in a petrochemical company. And we're having this conversation. I'm like, what does that mean to you? And he had no idea. He just heard the $30-something an hour to start. So, and I use this example, and if this example doesn't work, somebody should probably smack me. But we're talking, I'm like, do you have a sump pump in your house? He's like, yeah. So, and you know what it does? He's like, yeah, it pumps the water out of the basement. I'm like, so think about this. Sump pumps run, you hear the sump pump running or something, and your parents send you down to the check on it, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, and it's like, is it running? Yeah. I'm like, that's kind of like the operators in the plants around here, right? They kind of oversee that. If the pump breaks, right, it quits working. If the pump itself physically is not working, that's our industrial maintenance person. That's the mechanical maintenance person, right? If the motor is not working properly, that would be our EEAS program here at the college, our industrial electrician program. And there's a float in there that causes that pump to start and stop. That's the instrument tech, right? And so I'm talking to this guy and his mom, they're like, I understand it now, at least at a base level. And it's obviously much bigger than that. But I've been using that for a while, and it does help them because sometimes they don't know what they want to do. This particular young man, he's planning on taking the PCIT classes. He's going to take some mechanical and electrical and see kind of where his thing is. So, but yeah, that's it.
That makes sense. No, and I grew up in this area, and I didn't know until I started this job a year ago what we had out here.
It's crazy the opportunities around here.
Yeah. And I was curious if that kind of helps fuel the program. It's been going on for several years now, just by word of mouth.
If I'm talking too much, stop me. But you were talking about the advisory boards a little bit earlier, and one of the things my predecessor did is the chair of the department when Ed was still out here and they started getting it going. He had all of the career programs at the college have to have advisory boards. It's a state requirement, right? And a lot of those, it's a mixture of the teachers, the industry partners, and all that. But in almost every case, one of the faculty members kind of runs the board. Well, for the PCIT program, it's run by Dave. He's the president of the board, and as the chair of the department, I'm one item on the agenda. These folks, they run the program. I'm kind of the conduit back to the college, and we're starting to replicate this in other programs out here. And as of right now, the PCIT program has been run part-time by Joe and two other gentlemen that have been teaching for us, but absolutely as a result of the actions of this board. We're bringing Joe on full-time in August to become our new full-time faculty, which I think is once he's in here full-time and he can actually devote time because it becomes his job, that we're really going to be ramp this program up and get where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess, how do you see programs like this one benefiting the overall process control industry as a whole? And what do you hope that it will continue to do going forward, especially as you're talking about it, starting to, come to even greater fruition?
I mean, you guys could chime in. I just think right now I don't think we're putting out enough graduates. We can't meet the need. Part of our goal here is to make sure we're putting out graduates that these companies they have the skill set that they need. Right now, we're not putting out enough of them. We need to ramp that up. You want to be careful not to overproduce either, though, because if someone's coming into a career program, they want a reasonable expectation they can land a job on the other side. In some programs on college campuses, sometimes they get too big, right, and they release all these graduates, and then folks can't find a job.
Right.
So that's something we've always, in my department, we've been very cautious about that. Having the biggest program is not always the best thing for the student.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think the challenge in industry right now that a lot of other professions are struggling with is that there's such a large number of people that are leaving the workforce that are taking that base knowledge with them, that replacing them with somebody with a skill set, with a little bit of skill, is it's a difficult thing. I deal with a lot of the facilities around here, and I see where their struggles are, that they're turning their maintenance staff over. One of the facilities out here has 15 technicians, and in a period of about 6-7 years, every one of those techs was retiring out, and they had to replace them, which is just crazy how many people that is, and what does that mean for the facility? So you've got a lot of older equipment, and you're bringing a lot of young technicians in that don't understand all the intricacies of the process and the instrumentation, and it's older instrumentation and whatnot. So trying to find somebody that has any bit of a base knowledge that you can build on is a really big challenge in industry. Joe can speak of this firsthand. I mean, you were the assistant superintendent out at Steppen. You dealt with this every day.
Right. So if you put it in perspective, a lot of the techs that are leaving industry today, they grew up with industry. They grew up with the technology, because as we grew and we started to build on our technology. They were there, and they were hands-on. They worked on it. And they're all about the same age, like David said. We're all getting ready to leave the workforce, and all that knowledge is walking out with them. The smart manufacturers went out 5 years ago and started bringing young talent in to try to get some of that knowledge before it walks out the door. But what we're doing is, it's kind of more. So you have the older technology, newer technology, then you got a mix of it. So when I go back to we teach basics, we're teaching those pieces of the puzzle, but how the puzzle is put together is based on what company you go with. So you got the older companies that had the pneumatics, straight pneumatics, and they kind of morphed over a little bit at a time. Their techs learned that as they went through that change.
Right.
Now the challenge for the new techs walking in the door is those lines, those boundaries. That's why we don't cut out the older technology. We want them to understand that, because this process may be a mix of pneumatic with some basic electronic to HMI, to PLCs or DCS systems. So that is the challenge, is the people leaving, and we are trying to fill the gap, trying to give them the tools just to be
Giving them a
successful.
foundation,
Yes.
essentially,
Yes.
to build upon.
Well, how big is your program? I mean, you kind of mentioned that you want to have more students, but not too many.
I mean, we take in roughly 12 a year.
Yes.
We run essentially a cohort, because it's been evenings only, because it's a full-time job during the day, right? And so we take in 12 a year, and I think we can easily double or triple that, because we're obviously focused locally with the petrochem plants to power plants, but and I'm learning more about instrumentation too, where there are instrument techs and manufacturing facilities and all that. And I don't know of any school in the area that's doing anything like we do. So I think we have the ability to not only take care of the immediate employers, but also to go out kind of beyond our boundaries and help these other companies fill their voids too. But again, we need someone to champion it, and now we've got that person.
You know, the other thing to keep in mind is that the students, as they graduate out of this program, are not bound by local boundaries as far as a position that they could get here. This career path, you can take it anywhere in the world. You can go to Australia and do this stuff. I mean, there's a need there just like there is here. So the skill set that they're gaining by working here, it'll go much, much further.
Right.
Yeah, it's global.
Have you seen the program help fill some gaps in some ISA workforces? And I mean, have you guys gotten any response from these companies that have taken in your students? And
as far as the feedback, I try to get feedback just like anything else. How are we doing it? How's our program doing? How's it meeting your needs? Are we missing something? Like Jeff was saying, when I have more time, a lot to do it, we'll get deeper into it. And again, right now we're petrochem mainly, but we want to go outside those boundaries. We want to go to the weather techs and the different companies that are outside that boundary. We think there's a lot of need out there, and they don't know about us, and we don't know what their needs are. So now it's just trying to fill them. So the first step is, what do you need from us? What does a tech need to know when he walks through your doors? And then from there, how does our program match up to it? And if there's some gaps, then we figure out what the gaps are.
In our last advisory board meeting, we had a discussion about this, and the advisory boards for these programs are supposed to meet twice a year. And most meet twice a year, but this board said next year, when school starts, we want to meet every other month, because we basically want to go back. We're talking about doing what's called backwards design, right? Starting at the end, what does an entry-level technician need to be able to do, and then you backwards design the entire program. And that was kind of done in the past, but you need to kind of continually do this. So we're going to make a concerted effort next year to really broaden the base of the advisory board and retool and see how the program shakes out. And again, as being the person that's been at the college here for a while, that understands kind of that part of the inner workings, I want to be able to bridge the gap between the board and Joe and whatnot, so we can figure out the logistics of getting all the stuff changed at the state level,
right?
Whatever needs to be done. But that I'm really looking forward to that process next year.
Now, the advisory board consists of members in industry, people that are employed in industry, and that's really why they're there is to give that input. Like, hey, our technicians need to do this. So we take that into consideration as we go back and we retool the program, like Jeff was talking about.
Well, I know that you've kind of mentioned a lot about where you see the program going forward, but is there anything else you have in store that you're excited about? Or
Well, I'm excited about the whole thing. I'm telling you, I could go on and on about this. I'm leaving a job out there to come here to do this for this reason, is because that's how much I believe in the program. And I think that we are just going to get better. Right? We're just going to get better with the feedback from the board and getting out in industry and focusing on getting down to the nuts and bolts in here. Right now, I don't want to say product because they are humans, but we put out a good product. But I think once we start going a little deeper, I think we're going to put out an excellent product. And students come back, you see them a year or two later, and I've never had one student come back and wish he didn't take the program. Usually it's the other way around. And lots of times they'll tell you it's a life-changing event for them. That they went from, driving a forklift every day to, I have a career now, from renting to owning. So to me, that's the payback. When you see that, that's how I know we're on the right track. Because when you talk to a past student and you hear that, you know you're on the right track. You're going, and the manufacturers too. You talk to them and they have respect for the program. And so I think we're headed. We got a lot of good things coming down the road.
Well, and it's good to see a veteran like you doing what we're not letting the knowledge walk away and walk out the door.
It's great to have Joe involved because he's got a passion for it. Right. And he's leaving his job that he's been at forever so that he can do this.
I have a passion. My wife, not so much. But
what I wanted to add too, because this is what I'm excited about. I'm excited about all of this stuff because I'm an excitable person anyway. But right now, the way there's 14 programs in our department, and again, I've mentioned several of them that are kind of tied together. But right now, and since I've been here, these programs operate in silos. This is our instrumentation area. We have a mechanical area, we have an electrical area, but the reality is if you're at Stepan or you're at ExxonMobil, you're at Citgo, you're at Aux Sable, these folks, they're doing their own thing, but they're working around the same equipment and keeping these processes running. And so my predecessor was trying to push the college and the board of trustees to find us an area to basically bring the programs in a centralized location with some centralized labs. And a year and a half ago, he retired a few years ago, and I took over the department. I kind of kept on that. And a year and a half ago, the board of trustees approved a change to the master plan. There's no money for it, which is the problem. But this building, I'm assuming you came in the front of the building where the statue is out there. That the plan that's been approved is to take this building and expand it out 2 stories out to the sidewalk.
Oh, wow.
And that big conference center that you walked in as a glassed in, that is going to become a high bay industrial area. My vision is to have a processing plant out there. It could be something as simple as moving water. My boss, hopefully she'll still be here and drive this thing. She would like to put a brewery in there, right?
Oh,
put a brewery in there, right? Because we could actually manufacture the beer and then sell it at our city center campus with our culinary arts program. But to have a real operational process, so the instrument techs, they get all the bits and pieces here, but they can tie it together. It's the same way with our electrical program, the PLCs, and our mechanical folks doing alignments and all of that. We do it in isolation, and we do a good job with it, but to put it all together and put it into a showcase area, we need $15 million. That's what's holding us back. So I'm going to start doing bake sales, I guess.
Right. It's going to be a lot of bake sales.
Of bake sales.
Brownies.
They're really expensive brownies.
Special brownies for that.
But there's been some naysayers, but I always bring it up to them. Our automotive shop, they got a new $5 million building, probably. I guess they've been in there about 7 or 8 years now. And when they were trying to get their building, they're like, you can't do that. And if you get it in the master plan, it will most likely eventually happen. So now that it's in the plan, now we've got to work. I'm working with the foundation to see, is there some kind of way to fund this? My goal is to get at least the ground broken before I retire. So we'll see.
Well, that's a good goal.
And maybe it'll be built. Who knows?
I mean, depends on how long you're waiting to retire.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get to see it fully operational.
Maybe. To me, the fact that the board of trustees approved it, they approved the vision. means that they believe in what we're doing here. And again, it's the reason that Joe's here. They believe in what we're trying to do. Because again, we have so much industry, and there's so many really well-paying jobs around here. You know? So
yeah, there are.
Yeah.
There are a lot of opportunities for people in this industry, in this area. You don't have to leave.
No,
Like
we're in
me,
a
you
good
don't
area.
want to leave home.
Yeah, we're in a good area. And just to kind of comment on that whole process area, not only are we going to cover maintenance duties, but think about it, we're going to have operations too.
Right.
We have an operating program,
Yeah, so it's-
OET, so it'll be a hands-on.
Right.
It's a win-win, I see.
I mean, because there's such a large petrochemical and power generation base around here, I mean, it's huge. Being able to replicate a process, and you can see the process, start to finish from all of these different jobs. I think it's really going to elevate what we do.
Yeah.
And again, I know the quality of what we do out here now. That's just going to take us, again, it's cliched, but it's going to take us to another level. It's going to be really insane when we get there.
Well, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. Is there anything else that you think I should know, or our listeners should know, I should say?
It's a great career path. I mean, like Joe said, it changes lives.
It does.
You know, everybody seems to fall into it. Nobody really knows about it.
Right.
Maybe, and that's where I'm hopeful that, ISA working with the JJC can get out and advertise this as a program more and start with the kids when they're smaller, kind of like what we do at our ISA STEM events. We're trying to talk to kids when they're 8 years old, 9 years old, and get them interested in the robotics kind of stuff and things like that, and playing around with computers, because that really is kind of like the gateway into getting into instrumentation, whether it's instrumentation as a technician or as an engineer.
I'm going to drop this on Joe because Joe knows nothing about this. So surprise. Probably too late now because we've already set it up, but we've been running tech camps out here over the summer for 6th to 8th graders for probably 6 or 8 years, and I've been doing them every year. And so I do a mechanical maintenance, I do a pneumatics class with the kids and whatnot. But I'm thinking maybe next summer, you may want to put in some type of instrumentation kind of something, right? And because you'll have 45 to 90 kids. You get them in groups of 15 one day a week. But again, I've had some of those students, 2 that I know of, actually take classes. And these were 6th, 8th graders.
Wow.
They ultimately came out here,
Wow.
right?
That's
Again,
awesome.
So you never know. And most don't, but that's fine. It's like when I have students to come out and take a class with me, they're like, I really don't like this. I'm like, well, that's good. Now you know what you don't like. Let's go help you find what you do like.
Exactly.
Let's attract them at a younger age to
let's
this,
just
and
figure
make
stuff
them
out.
aware that you don't have to go to school and get a 4-year degree
Right.
in order to make a really
Right.
comfortable living for yourself.
And-
If you like doing hands-on stuff, if you like walking around and you like being outside, this could be a great career path for somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to throw this out there to your listeners too. If there's someone's listening, it could be a parent, ideally someone younger, but if it's a parent, they're like, my kid's kind of interested in stuff. If they're in our locale, they're more than welcome to come take a class. They don't have to be 18 and a high school graduate. They can be 15, as long as the instructor okays them being in the class, and that's his or her decision. I had an 8th grader. He finished the tech camp. As an 8th grader, he took my pneumatics class.
Oh, wow.
Right. And his mom was like, oh my God. He said he came home saying he could take this class, and she called me. I'm like, yeah. So he came in, I sat down with him and his mom, and I'm like, yeah, he's taking a college class. It's a college class. But he's more than welcome to do it, and he did fine.
Mm-hmm.
He went to 8th grade during the day and came out here at night.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
and
is.
he's actually working in the field now. He's a maintenance mechanic.
Oh, wow.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
But you know what? Kids really don't. My nephew's 14, and he's freaking out that he doesn't know what he wants to do when he gets old enough to make that decision.
Right.
And
Well, I mean,
they have to know early.
But if he has any idea of something he may be interested in, if we have coursework out here, he could come take a class in the evening if you
Right.
want to, and
Right.
just try it and figure it out. And one of the things that's great about a community college is the grand scheme of higher ed, it's very affordable. And again, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. But for $500 or $600, you can come really try something out and go, yeah, and it kind of sparks you.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the big things on when we have career day, or if I get the opportunity to talk to a parent. That's the first thing that they hear is like, listen, I'm all for a 4-year degree. 100%. I won't give mine back for the world. But if your child doesn't know what he wants to do, he wants to go and find himself, yeah, you may not want to send him to a big university and rack up all that debt to figure out that, you know what, I didn't want to do any of this. I say, come out, visit, give us a chance, take a look what we got to offer. There is not one instructor in this department I don't think would open up the doors to do a walkthrough and say, here's what I have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I know I would.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you do it at nighttime, so even people, maybe younger adults who are currently employed can
Right.
come.
Yeah, we run day and night classes for all of our programs.
Oh, okay,
You
great,
know,
great.
Because again, we're trying to meet the market.
Right.
You know,
And that's a good point. You know, we touched a little earlier on who are the typical students that come in to this program. They're taking night classes as it is right now. Some of them come from a different walk of life where maybe they haven't touched any of this kind of stuff before.
Right.
You know, even if you went to school and got a 2-year or 4-year degree and you either don't like it or it's just not making it for you, you can still come back, again, for not a lot of money, take a 5-certificate program if you've got some of the fundamentals and make a really good career for yourself.
Yes,
So it's a great opportunity to turn your life around, you know, and make a better life.
Right. Awesome. Well, I don't have anything else unless you all do.
No.
No. Thanks for having us. This was
definitely.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and sharing all this information about the program. Well, there you have it. That was our interview with the PCIT program at JJC. Just one quick note before we close out our podcast today. Putnam Media and the Influential Women in Manufacturing program have recently launched a gender diversity and career development survey. We're hoping to get as many manufacturing professionals involved in the survey as possible, man or woman, new hire or 40-year veteran. Fill out this anonymous survey to tell us how your organization is handling gender diversity in your career development. This survey is going to contribute to a brand new special report from Putnam Media discussing these topics in depth from the responses we receive. If you would like to participate in the anonymous survey, please visit influentialwomeninmanufacturing.com. That's all we have for you today, so please stay tuned for another episode of Manufacturing Tomorrow's Workforce coming soon. And until then, have a great day.